But today, I'm going to talk about when life feels incomplete. Do you ever have that sense that you're missing something, but you don't know what it is? Like you forgot something, but you forgot what you forgot, and so you aren't sure what you need. That happened to me constantly over the course of the last 2 weeks. My phone broke, and I had to mail it to the manufacturer for them to repair it. And so over the last 2 weeks, you may have seen me making phone calls on this. Yeah, this is a phone also. Perhaps you're not aware of that. But I'd be in the rhythm of my day and think, oh, I should really email that person. Or, oh, you know what? I should send them a quick message. I should post this on Facebook. And I'd go, I would sigh heavily and realize that's just not going to happen right now. But I am complete again. I'm whole. I got my phone back. UPS. It was a happy, joyous day. My kids were even jumping up and down. They're like, "Hey, Dad's phone's back." But that feeling that something is missing, and you don't quite know what the time that I most associate with that is going to school when I was a kid. You spend the morning bustling around and getting everything in your bag, and get your shoes on, you get your coat on, you head out to the bus stop, and there's just this sense. I would feel it in my stomach. Like there's just no bottom on my stomach right now. It's like, oh, something is missing. What did I forget? I'd go through the events of my day, one after the next, kind of waiting for that moment to arrive when I didn't have whatever it was that I needed and didn't have. Do you identify with this at all?
Yeah.
This kind of sense that, this ominous sense that you were not going to realize what you're missing until it was too late. And so I go to my locker and I think, oh, did I forget my shoes? I'm wearing my moon boots, Did I pull open the backpack and nope, my shoes are there. So I put my shoes on and move on with my day, and then you get into class. I think, oh no. Did I forget my homework? So I rifle through my folder and nope. The homework's there for a change. I actually remembered that this time. Okay, take another deep breath. But then still, the feeling's not gone yet. What did I forget? And then you go to lunch. You think, oh no, did Mom forget to pack my lunch? And you go and look, and nope, lunch is there. Everything's okay. And then as you sit down for lunch, you realize that everyone is looking at you. And it's because you're dreaming and you forgot to wear pants to school that day. Right? I hope I'm not the only one who's had that dream. Anyway, but we all have this sense that we haven't arrived at the place where we're going. That life is somehow incomplete. And we all spend our lives searching for that one thing to fill the void. Often trying one thing after another after another. Sometimes we fill this void with things that are destructive. And that's really sad. It's hurtful to us and to others. People try and fill that void they sense with substance abuse, with physical abuse, stealing, lying to get our way. Every self-seeking, me-first thing you can think of. Those are all different ways that people try and make life feel whole in some way when there's a void. But more often, we use the good things in life to fill that void. Right? Family, work, music, food. The problem, though, is that when we use even these good things for the purpose of making us into whole individuals, our love for them gets twisted. Love of food becomes gluttony. Love of music becomes obsession. Love of work becomes a workaholic tendency that keeps you from a real and full life. Love of family becomes tribalism and exclusionary. Of course, the most common place people turn to fill our sense that something's missing is to romantic relationships. I spent 12 years in youth ministry. And you've seen the scars left by teenage relationships that lasted 3 weeks. Utterly traumatized because they're trying to find their identity in connecting with another person, and then when they feel rejection, they feel that they themselves are bad. And some of us grow beyond that point, and some of us don't, or we just exercise it differently. It's perfectly summarized in, the movie Jerry Maguire, right? When Renee Zellweger and Tom Cruise are having their final moment, and Tom Cruise says, "You complete me." And she says, "Oh, you had me at hello," and all that, right? But that sentiment rings true to so many of us, that we look to someone to show us affection, to be the one to give us completion. But that doesn't work. And I'd like to illustrate that for you. I need help from a couple of my friends here. I invited Sarah and Sean to come and help me illustrate why you can't lean on someone else to complete you. Let's welcome Sarah and Sean Smith. I have throw pillows. They are not for the purpose of throwing. All right, Sarah, you stand here, and Sean, you come over here. All right? So, this is the Sarah pillow. All right? And this is the Sean pillow. And this is the Sarah and Sean pillow. All right? So, this represents you can stand on your pillow. All right? Why don't you do that? And you can stand on your pillow. All right. So, each of them have a self. Each of them are people. Perhaps you've noticed. Okay? And when they are on their individual pillows, they're quite comfortable. They can stand there all day if necessary, right? And as they come together, because they're married, and so there's unity between them, usually, they each can put a foot on the us pillow. Why don't you each put a... See? And that's pretty comfortable too. You can do that. But you have to have one foot in who you are to begin with. Because see, if they both try and stand all the way on the us pillow, it's not going to last too long. The way that a healthy relationship works is to have one foot firmly planted in who you are, and then to be able to come together. And sometimes life gets crazy and confusing, and you need a little space. Right? You just need some alone time, and then it's okay. You still have a perfectly functioning self that you can go back to. If you need to go ice fishing or something like that for a while, it's okay. Us is still there waiting for you, and you can step back on and be as close as you need to be. But you need to keep one foot planted on who you are, or else things get awkward, as you've seen. Thank you very much, guys. Let's hear it for some. So in Colossians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul writes about the different ways people try to smooth over their own feelings of incompletion. Intellectual double talk, endless arguments, tradition, superstitions. These were the things that the religious people in Paul's day did to compensate for their inadequacies. They invested themselves in high philosophy and seemingly magical practices to make sense out of life. But Paul says that all those attempts were doomed to fail. See, if God is the author of this life, then God is the only one who knows what the missing piece is that we all need, that we all spend our lives searching for. And in his letter to the Colossians, that's a church in Colossae, Paul explains that everything we need to know about God is expressed in Jesus. Here's how he describes that reality. He says, God's fullness entered the world in the person of Jesus. And the result is a life made complete by God's fullness instead of our own emptiness. So because God's fullness has entered the world in this person, Jesus, that we can hear what he had to say, we can know what he stood for, then we, by taking part in that kind of life, can experience the fullness that only God can offer. And the thing is, all of this, it isn't an argument about religion. It isn't about you have to do this, and you have to do it this way, and you have to live like this. It's not about that at all. If your life feels incomplete, there isn't anything you need to do to make it right. There isn't anything you can do to make it right. There's no pilgrimage you can take. There's no penance you can perform. There's no dues that you can pay. God's promise to us is that we find God's fullness in the simple step of knowing Jesus. But here's the thing that some of you might be thinking right now. I know Jesus. I'm a person who loves God. I go to church. I believe all the things that Christians believe. I do the things that Christians do. And yet, I still have a sense that life is incomplete. How does that work? You're saying that Jesus is the one who offers us full and complete life so that we don't have this void anymore, but I still feel a void. You know, there's some places where they say, come and believe in Jesus, and your life will turn around completely. You'll feel all the way better about the world, and things will change. I think we can have a dramatic change in us, but believing in God doesn't change our circumstances, and it doesn't change us all the way, or else we'd be done. Then we could just say, mission accomplished, God, I don't need to do this faith thing anymore because I already have it figured out. No, there's another step that needs to happen beyond that. Here's something most preachers won't admit to you, and that is that Jesus doesn't make all of our longing go away. Just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you don't long for something more for your life, or for the world, or more peace within you. And that's because as long as we're locked into this temporary world, we can never experience the kind of eternal fullness of Jesus. It's when we meet Jesus in eternity that all that longing will cease. All pain will end. All sadness gets swallowed up in peace and joy. But until then, we lean on the promise that knowing Jesus is the closest thing we have to that sense of completion. And there are a few things that we can do about it in the meantime. So I give you some ways that you can tap into the person of Jesus and experience more completion than you have right now, knowing full well that total completion, that total sense that everything is as it should be, comes on the other side of this life. So, things you can do to feel complete. One is comfort one another in your longing. So, right now, you might feel like you're in a pretty good place, but you have a friend who's going through rough stuff. And one of the ways that you can feel complete as an individual is to go and serve them in the name of Christ. And there's lots of people that just do good stuff all the time just because they know it's good to do good things. There's actually a reason why it's good to do good things, and it's not just a moral thing. We are built for a world that is better than this one. We are built for a world where everyone is cared for and loved. And so when we care for others and love others selflessly, we are acting as if that completed world were already here. We're living out the completion that is to come. So if you stand by your friend, your neighbor, your relative who's going through rough stuff, then you are acting like a completed world person acts. And you yourself become a little more complete. So comfort one another. Another way to experience the fulfillment that comes in Jesus is, again, to live today like the kingdom is here. So that means not just going to the people you know, but wherever you go. As you drive to work, be attentive to what's going on in the news on the radio, or what you're driving past, or as you walk to your office or wherever it is you go during the day. Watch the people around you and ask God, how can I offer care? How can I show that in spite of all appearances, God is in charge right now? Keep listening and stay in tune with how you can serve others around you. One of the most important ways you can serve others is just letting them know that they are loved. Letting them know they are loved by you. Letting them know they are loved by God. Letting them know that there's a place, maybe it's Northern Light Church and maybe it's somewhere else, where they can feel at home and experience the welcome of God. Because that's what we try and do here, is be like a physical location where people can say, wow, there's at least one place in my life where I know God is in charge. Where I know God's kingdom has come and is coming. So comfort one another. Live like the kingdom's here. And finally, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. So you start through this life and maybe things are going great, and then you hit a hiccup in the road. Life is not going as planned. What do you do in that moment? Well, you can languish in your self-pity. I've been guilty of that. But it was like a week ago. So, or you can lean on Jesus and know that the promises of Christ are true. That He'll never leave you or forsake you. Jesus says in Matthew that, hey, if God is going to take care of the birds that have no way of fending for themselves, they don't know how to earn income, they don't know how to file taxes, they don't know, the only tips they get are, the crumbs that fall off of your Jimmy John's sandwich. That's the life of a bird. And yet, God makes sure they're provided for. And the flowers in the field that just sit there, they never go anywhere. They thrive. And in fact, they're more beautiful than anything you or I could create. God cares for them, sustains them. How much more will God care for you, His child? To know that there's a good future for you, no matter what your not so good right now might look like. So comfort one another. Live like the kingdom has come. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Follow Him even when things get hard. Don't retreat into your own self-serving ways. And don't allow that sense of incompletion to drag you down or drag you into some substitute for real living. And let that longing in your heart be a promise that there's something more. Let the longing in your heart be a promise, a sign to you that we're created for something bigger than the difficulties that we're facing from one moment to the next. That there's a love big enough to bring the sense of completion we all long for. And it starts here. It starts in you. It starts in trusting Christ and discovering how God is worthy of your trust by connecting with those who have gathered to bring God's kingdom to earth as it is in heaven. Pray with me. God, we thank you so much that you show us love, that you sustain us through all of life's challenges, that you bring us hope in difficulty. And each of us have a little void where we feel like if only it was just a little bit different. And God, we trust that you will hold that out in front of us as something that we can continue to reach after so that we can find our home not in anything we create here. So we can find our hope not in anything that we can accomplish. So that we can find our sense of wholeness and self not in anyone or anything here, but that we can find it in your love that happens to show up in those around us. Help us to discover you, to reach for you, to trust you, and in the people that you have provided to us as a signal of your love. In Jesus' name.